When I was a kid, a very very young kid, little kid, I used to watch all the '60s pop shows in the 1960s. On TV and at that time in black and white, and I loved them. So I'm still very influenced by sort of a lot of '60s pop and '60s music, and even back to the '50s, because I was born in the '50s, so
Yeah.
I've kind of lived through all these different decades of music that I've taken some little influences from.
But your after Soft Cell and the big bang of electropop, like in the early '80s, your albums become more different. Like Mother Fist, it's like
It's more folk.
theatrical.
Theatrical kind of. I call it like. I suppose it's like sort of cabaret pop.
Cabaret
It's kind of
pop.
cabaret pop folk. It's much more folk in influence, using world music styles and accordions and strange instruments, but with sometimes an electronica sound as well, which I sometimes put into the mix. I think if I'd have stayed doing electropop, I mean, I think probably electropop was probably maybe 2 or 3 years of my musical time in 30.
From '82 to '84.
From 1980 to 83.
83.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So, a career of 30 years is a long time, and throughout this time, the music industry has changed a lot. How have you seen? Have you felt this change in your work, like the change of the industry?
Oh, the change of the industry. I mean, I think it's very much more harder for artists like me. I'm so lucky that I came. That I came to have success at the time I did, because at that time it was still possible for record companies to take a risk on you, to let you make albums even though they didn't do so well. They'd let you make another record to make a longer lasting artist. Now it seems to be much more disposable, and people sell less records now.
Yes,
Things like early singles, like the Soft Cell singles, and even something like Something's Got a Hold of My Heart, for example, some of my solo singles, even the ones that didn't do so high in the charts, sold much more records than even somebody who does a number one record now. So it was, sold thousands and thousands of records. So it's changed a lot with the whole scene of download it and things, and
it's much easier to make a band right now. Like
it's easy to make a band, but it's easy to make something that's more disposable. Now I think you have even the big bands, people looking for the new version of them every year. And I think for me it was lucky to come along and to establish myself as a unique place in music at the time that I did. I think if I was to come along now, I probably wouldn't even get accepted past the auditions at some of these talent shows, some of the X Factor shows on TV, whatever. I probably wouldn't even get past the auditions because I'd be too strange or weird and unusual or something. I don't know.
because now everyone wants to be famous, not to make music.
Everyone wants to be famous. The fame thing comes first. And yeah, it's wrong to say that there isn't good music around, because there's loads of great music around and there's loads of rubbish around. But that's how it's always been. In the '70s, growing up, there was probably, you looked at the top 30 charts then, and it was full of terrible records with occasionally one or two really great records. So music, you can't say music's worse or better than it isn't then now. There's a lot of more accessibility to great music out there now, I think, So, but it's just harder for a band to maybe last a lot longer and get a fan base that's build a big fan base that will support them for years and years, like I've been lucky to have.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's another question that I have about. What we see here in Greece is that Britain's music industry is mainly focused on indie and alternative bands. So, well,
Britain's music
first, is it true? Like, is it just what we see from here in Greece, or do you feel it in a different way in Britain? And something else I'd like to hear is, like, how would an artist like you, which isn't indie or alternative, I mean, in the way that we've used to listen to bands nowadays in Britain, feel about this new current, and that they are very well promoted from the whole industry?
Well, I think the music, but when you look at the charts in Britain now, it's mainly kind of winners of talent shows like Pop Idol or X Factor. And it's mainly kind of American artists, big R&B American artists, or big selling artists. It's with occasionally a few indie bands sprinkled in that maybe get one hit or one successful record, and that's it. It's a I think it's a mix as it has always been. It's hard to really say what it, you know. But of course you have a lot of things, emphasis put on now of kind of talent shows, nurturing kind of manufactured talent. There's always been manufactured music,
Well, yes.
always, from whether it's from the Monkees to Tamla Motown to everything. There's a certain amount of manufacturedness in music, so it's not fair to say music's become manufactured now, because it's always been like that. But I think it's harder for maybe it's becoming harder now for bands to get maybe a foothold in the music business, because all the music papers want the new thing all the time. They want something new, something different all the time, and they want something to dispose of things all the time. It's hard to say, because I'm really kind of past looking at what the current music business is like. I don't really take much notice of it. I just do my own thing. And to use me as an authority of what's happening in the British music business, I haven't got a clue what's going on. I don't know what kids want. I don't know what 16-year-old, 17-year-old kids want. And if I did, there'd be something really wrong with me. That a guy in his 50s to know what young teens want, I haven't got a clue, and I don't really care.
Okay, so now you're about to release your new album that is called Variété.
Variété. Yeah.
Sorry if my pronunciation isn't exactly correct. So what do we expect to hear from your new album?
It's very reflective songs. It's very kind of introspective, retrospective songs. The album is really about nostalgia and our kind of yearning for nostalgia in this very unchanging, sort of fearful world that changes around us so quickly all the time, that we feel kind of uncomfortable about. Things are kind of disposed with very, very quickly. History is torn down and thrown away very quickly. Everything is fast. Everything moves very quickly. We kind of look to kind of nostalgia as some kind of comfort to bring us to some kind of order to our lives. So it's about that, really, to an extent. But it's really a collection of very reflective and introspective songs about growing older, about changing life, about my fears of life, about feeling that I don't belong in the world.
So it's a very personal.
Yeah, it's a personal record, but I think a lot of people will be able to relate to the different songs on the album. There are 16 tracks on the album, and it's almost like the length of a double album. And it's very, very musical. It's very different in a lot of ways to some of the records I've done before. Much more some structured songs, and it's very influenced by, I suppose, musical influences range from things like the 1970s style music to kind of things like cabaret, vaudeville, kind of ballads, very kind of melancholic songs as well.
Nice. Okay. So when do we expect it to be?
A bit of everything, really. Like, that's why it's called Variété, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's coming out in June, or around the 7th of June.
Okay. Nice.
But people can find out information about everything that I'm doing from my website, which is www.marcalmond.co.uk. There, people can get hold of releases that are maybe not available in the shops. They can find out all the new information about everything that I'm doing, tours and records and everything there. So
do you tend to have a clear idea of how you want an album to turn out when you start working on it?
I try to have an idea, yeah. It doesn't always turn out to how you think it's going to do, but this record kind of turned out pretty much how I wanted it to turn out. I started writing songs for it maybe a couple of years ago, and finished it about a month ago. And it did turn out, I was very, very pleased with it. It's my first album of all original songs. I mean, songs that I've co-written with different arrangers and musicians, but all my own sort of lyrics and music and melodies and things. It's the first album of my own songs since 1999's Open All Night, so in 10 years. Because the albums since then have had maybe cover songs on them, or some cover songs, or maybe even one or two songs written by other people. This is completely my own songs.
Nice, great. So in a few hours, we will all sing along your very well-known songs. And are we going to listen to some new songs too?
You'll hear some new songs, some old songs, a little bit of a mixture of everything, I think. You know, some stuff from my last album, Orpheus and X, a couple of songs from that, maybe Orpheus in Exile, some songs from a couple of songs from Variety. I'm sure there'll be some big favourites as well.
Okay, nice.
I might make you wait for them a little bit.
So it's going to be towards the end, right?
Oh, I don't say. I'm just saying when I might do them. I don't know how I feel.